Hello, hello. Welcome to the morning. Morning for me. Uh, trying out a new time slot on a new day, and we're making something inappropriate for the time of day. Um, so it's one of my friend's birthdays today, and we're having a party later. I'll be making a cake today. I'll be making a cheesecake today, and I won't be doing a full water bath, all the whole rigmarole thing. We're gonna make a no-bake cheesecake because I've never done that before. My cream cheese is already out and pretty much at room temperature. The room is quite warm as well. Although the heat finally broke today. We have a big storm. It's actually all sort of in progress, so we might hear some rumblies come through. Uh, but yeah, so that's the plan. And then after that's in the fridge and setting, depending on how long it takes and how much time we have, I may jump in and make a breakfast item, an actual brunch item. But the project at the minute is cheesecake. And a no-bake cheesecake is nice and refreshing and light and doesn't heat up the house and doesn't heat up the oven. And it's all almost entirely cold, except I have to melt some butter. So I'm going to go melt some butter in the microwave. If you were here at the very, very start, we don't even need the stove today, so we can just do that. If you were here at the very, very beginning, you saw the butter come out. The butter is still fridge cold. I don't keep my butter out, so the cream cheese has been let to come up, but the butter is going to be fully liquefied. Uh, Also going to take some liberties. Let's get rid of this since it's no longer the pre-show. I did buy pre-crushed breadcrumbs or graham cracker crumbs for this. I was trying to find pre-crushed Oreo crumbs, and they don't have them. They only have them already shaped into pie crusts, which is not right. I wanted to try an Oreo crust, so I think I'm gonna put some cocoa powder into my crust to see if I can give it a little bit of that dark chocolatey bitterness. Uh, so bear with me while I get my butter melted. I need an angle where I can. Oh, I guess we'll just do this angle for the time being, so I can smile and wave. My headset has been a little bit loose. I think it's because I've got too much hair fluff going on. Uh, I'm gonna have to remember to pick up more butter. This is the end of my. This is the last of my butter. Good thing I have enough because I didn't look ahead to make sure I had enough. I just assumed that I had enough, and I was lucky and it came true. But that would have been a problem if I didn't. Okay, that's gonna need a few pulses. So while that is melting, I'm going to get out my spring form. Which we haven't used since the last time we made a cheesecake, actually. I don't have any other real uses for this thing. But I have made multiple cheesecakes in it, so it's it's been worth it. I also have a recipe up on the side, so we're not completely flying by the seat of the pants here. Um, ooh, that melted real quick. So yeah, we're not flying completely blind. Because I've never made a no bake before. I've only made a traditional French style with the water bath and all that nonsense. Uh, and I'm hoping it's not too warm and humid today. These fiddly baked items sometimes are extremely sensitive to the weather, and since we're having a thunderstorm, it's quite humid right now. I need not the biggest bowl, because the biggest bowl is for the whipping stage. I need like the medium steel for this. Uh, 2 cups of graham cracker crumb. Uh, Last time I did this, I bought whole graham crackers and crushed them. This time, I bought pre-crushed crumbs because crushing them was tedious, and the crumbs cost basically the same, if not slightly cheaper, since I bought the store brand. So I feel like crushing your own, unless you're doing some special cookie, which again I was looking for Oreo crumb, and they didn't have such a thing. And I know people tell me, people have all told me 1,000 times, oh, those famous wafer things, those are just the Oreo wafers without the cream part. Just get those and crush them up. They are not the same. They've never been the same. I don't understand why Nabisco has not just marketed their Oreo rounds, just the wafer part, as a separate product. They insist that it can't be done. I've never understood. I'm just ugh ugh. All right, frustration and peeves. Our butter is fully melted. Hopefully, I didn't pop on the ceiling of the microwave. Liquid butter. That'll butter has a good thermal capacity, so you can let that stand for a bit before it deliquifies, which is good. Because I'm still assembling the other part. I need my big sugar. Let's hope we have enough sugar to go around. Didn't think of that either, but I don't think that's going to be a problem. We need our handy dandy 2/3 cup, which we will be filling halfway, for 1/3 of a cup of sugar. And my recipe calls for brown sugar, so we're going to be assembling a brown sugar as well. Uh, this is something that we didn't do. If you were here for the pizza cheesecake, that had no sugar in its crust, and when we finally served it, the crust didn't hold very well. And I feel like in a cheesecake, the sugar is more than just a sweetener. It's structural in the crust part. Let's keep the sugar handy. Because the sugar dissolves into and melts into the butter, and then when it cools, the sugar rehardens and gives you some structure. And I think I was missing that. So we can't miss out, break up those lumps. We can't miss out on the sugar, or we are liable to have the crust fall apart, especially since this is not being given a full 12-hour resting time because I have to serve it this evening. Uh, so we'll probably be serving it 8 to 10 hours. A bunch of sugar lumps. Which of course would have been solved if I had just sifted my sugar, but who has time for sifting? Instead, we'll waste time crushing lumps with our fingers. Uh, the lumps should sort themselves out when I put the butter in there as well, because sugar dissolves in butter. And I did say I wanted to try to flavor our crust a little bit, since I couldn't find the Oreo crumb. So I'm going to add a bit. Make sure I'm not wasting my. I am wasting it. Going to hang on to that measuring spoon because I'm going to need it later. We'll use this one. I need a specific size for that one later. Whereas this is just a general scooper. So, and I don't want too much anyway, so half a tablespoon of cocoa powder, which immediately gives it a nice brown color. Yeah, I'm going to add a second scoop. We're going to call it 1 tablespoon of cocoa powder. Not exactly, it's actually a little bit more than 1 tablespoon because I didn't level it off. I left it slightly heaped. I don't think I want that much more than that. Cocoa can be a quite dominant flavor. Uh, the sugar that's in here will help this form a more chocolatey flavor. Cocoa on its own is very bitter. Um, fans of dark chocolate will say, yeah, of course it's bitter. But you got to be careful when you're using it in cooking because that bitterness can be problematic. Okay, I think we're pretty well evenly incorporated for all our powdery ingredients. Now, this recipe called for brown sugar, and I just added white sugar and mixed it with my fingers. Um, so in order to upgrade this to brown sugar, we need to get, I think I need to wash the threads on this thing. It's getting stuck together. Molasses. Molasses is the difference between white sugar and brown sugar. And it said I could use dark brown sugar, so I'm adding a nice big dollop. And our butter. And that's all the ingredients that go into the actual crust element. Um, I haven't purchased brown sugar in ages because it's so hard to keep. It forms a hard brick so immediately once you've opened it. Whereas white sugar keeps extremely well, and molasses keeps extremely well. So I just have the two of them separate, and I can combine them as I need it. And that way, I also don't need to have light brown sugar or dark brown sugar or extra dark brown sugar or just barely brown sugar, because I can control the proportions myself. So that's my tip for the day. You do not need brown sugar. Just get white sugar and molasses. They both keep forever. I don't think it's possible for molasses to go off on you unless you leave the container wide open. Um, and all you have to do to keep sugar good is keep it dry. Uh, both of them are naturally preserved by the fact that they have no water in them. And unlike brown sugar, which tries to recrystallize and forms a big chunk, sugar is a dry granule, and brown sugar, molasses, is a liquid. Okay, very dark, beautifully dark brown uh, crust mixture I've got going on here. I'm not going to wash my hand just now because I'm going to get this in here right away. Should I put a parchment circle on the bottom? I have to decide whether I want to do that right now. It would help it release, but it would make it harder to cut. I'm not sure which problem I'm more worried about. Not sure which problem I'm more worried about. I don't have parchment circles ready to go. I'd have to cut one. If I was baking this, I would say definitely not, because you'd end up with a disgusting, soggy parchment circle. Since this is a no-bake, oh, but it's going to be served right on that pan as well. Yeah, I'm rinsing my hand off. I'm put a gonna put a parchment circle down there. Should I? Ooh, now I'm second guessing myself again. Uh, now I'm second guessing myself again. Um, no, I'm gonna commit. No parchment circle. Directly in the pan. I just rinsed my hand off for no reason. That's fine. Use your hand to get it evenly spread in there. And then I have a little special item for this, but most people will just have the bottom of a measuring cup. I have a tiny saucepan that I like to use for this part. The idea here is that you want something with a flat bottom and a straight, flat, curved side that you can use to squish out the bottom and also push in the sides of the crust. Now, there's probably a specific tool for this, but I've had great luck with this little saucepan. I've used it for this more than I've used it for making sauces, because it's the perfect square profile, flat bottom, high sides, nice big surface area for pressing in. And if this was doing a bake, the heat would help this set together. And you would just have to be concerned about it being set enough to stand up to the filling when you pour it in. In this case, it needs to be very tightly compacted because we're not applying any additional heat. All the heat that's in there is already in there. Um, and the setting is going to come from the butter chilling and the sugar recrystallizing. That looks pretty good, though. I'm quite pleased. That little scooper, I got that thing for $1 at a kitchen supply store, so it wasn't even like it was secondhand like most of my stuff. And it's come in endlessly handy. I've also made a few sauces in it. It's a nice little saucepan, so you don't have to break out a big pan. You can just make a small amount of something. I poached some tomatoes in oil in it, little cherry tomatoes, and I would have had to just drown a big pan in oil to get them to cook, but that little guy was perfect. Uh, this needs to chill, and fortunately, I have other things to do while it does. So, my recipe says freeze it to get it to chill faster. My freezer is full. So I'm going to cross my fingers and count on it to set up properly in the just in the fridge. Um, so fingers crossed. Pray for me. Okay. Now I've got a couple of things I've got to do in separate. I've got to beat in separate bowls and then combine. The large glass bowl is going to be our filling assembly bowl. Because I'm going to whip. Okay, so you need to beat the cream cheese smooth. You also need to make whipped cream separately and then fold them together gently. My cream cheese is softened from having sat on the counter for an hour. And I think. Okay. So the whipped cream. I think I want to add the whipped cream to the cream cheese, not the other way around. Uh, my very large steel bowl. I'm actually going to get out my second to very large steel bowl. I think I want to add whipped cream to the cream cheese because I'm less likely to deflate my whipped cream that way. So the whipped cream will be in the glass bowl because I want to beat that with a electric mixer. The cream cheese is going to be in the steel bowl because I could beat this smooth without the electric mixer. I don't like using the electric mixers in the steel bowls because the metal, you can even see that there's a bunch of scratches in there. Metal tools on metal cookware is fine when you're doing it just by hand because you're not able to apply nearly as much work. But I've noticed that if you are doing something like whipping eggs, whipping cream, the mixer and the steel bowl will start to braid each other. I've got a whisk, one of these guys over here on the wall. It's actually the large version of Tiny Whisk here. I whipped eggs by hand with this guy in a metal bowl, and I wore through the plating on the whisk itself, and it's just a little tiny spot right at the tip, and it keeps trying to rust on me. I may have to discard it and get a new one. Why did I take the wrapper over to the sink? That doesn't make sense. I'd literally got a trash right here, specifically so I can throw things. Distracting myself by chattering. I also have a plan for flavoring this cheesecake. There are fresh raspberries to be had, and I have acquired them. And my recipe says beat the cream cheese until it's smooth, and then add a bunch of other stuff that is much liquidier. I don't understand why I don't just add, because this is not going to, there's no way to overbeat this. So I'm just going to add the other ingredients now and mix them together. Uh, and the other ingredients are sour cream. Oop, yep. Which in this application is going to give us some lovely tanginess. Oh, my sour cream's a little bit dried out, actually. Uh, Not entirely dried out, but it's almost the consistency of the cream cheese. So that's not what I was hoping for. We're still going to have our tanginess, but I was hoping it'd be a little softer, because then it would add its softness to the rest of this. Oh well. Oh well. Not the end of the world. I did add a second little. We're adding a quarter cup, but of course some of it sticks to the cup measure. Um, so I added a little extra scoop to make up the difference. And I'm rinsing off my quarter cup. And I think I'm going to also give it a. It might dry by the time we need it. We're going to need to measure out more things using the quarter cup specifically, so keep that handy. Um, Lemon juice. It's also going to give us a tang. I've been enjoying this. It's like those little plastic lemons, but instead of it being a stupid little thing, it's got a cap and a nozzle. Um, it makes it incredibly easy to measure it out. I don't know why the regular brand of the stupid little plastic lemons doesn't do this. Um, Confectioner's sugar. Okay, confectioner's sugar. I've got that. Half cup of granulated sugar, 2 tablespoons of confectioner's sugar. Well, I've got confectioner's sugar, and I keep telling myself I need to use it up, so interesting that this recipe calls for it specifically. I kind of hate this stuff. Really. It's I find it very hard to work with. It makes a mess. I understand that it dissolves like crazy, and you can do all sorts of interesting things with it, but I find it a pain for the most part. I don't use it unless I absolutely have to. I probably wouldn't use it in this recipe if I was making it myself because this is all going to dissolve anyways. There's no specific need for the sugar to be so fine. I'm reading through this recipe because it calls for sugar again, and I can't figure out where. Oh, right now, in fact. That's easy. Where did I put my granulated sugar? It wants it right now, but it wants it in a separate right now. Half a cup. I guess we're going to use all of my measuring cups for this. I'm also looking to use up all of my granulated sugar right now because I don't like it having it in this container anymore. Um, find it really awkward to get out of the container when I need it. So I would like to use it up. Then we can clean this container, put it somewhere else. That'll be better in the long run. I keep gradually acquiring more and more of those containers with the little clasped top. Okay, let's see. I should probably move the gentleman. There's all of our ingredients. I'm going to start this off with a spatula. If you had a stand mixer, I would just throw this all in a stand mixer with the paddle and go paddle until it's smooth. In fact, I'd do this in steps. I'd start it with just the cream cheese, and then I'd add things to it. I don't have that, and I've tried doing this with a straight up whisk, and I've tried doing this even with the beaters. When the cream cheese are still in big chunks like this, unless you have the something paddly, it's really hard to get them started. So I'm starting them with with my spatula, and then we'll move on to something whiskier, not whiskey. Oh, I know what this is missing. This is missing a shot of vanilla. So we'll get this part started, get it all mixed together, kind of let it rest, since I've got other things to prepare at the same time. What we're looking for here is for this to be completely smooth and homogeneous, which I don't think I can achieve using just the spatula. So as soon as it's soft enough that I think I can get a whisk to go through it, I'm going to start whisking, which will also help aerate it a bit. The goal here, as far as I know, is we're trying to get a bunch of air into this so that our finished product is light and airy. I think I can get a whisk through this now. We're also going to need the spatula to fold together this part and the upcoming whipped cream part, which is where most of the air is actually going to come from. Uh, whipped cream is good. Whipped cream, just like whipped eggs, are good at holding air in a suspension. Which is why we're not adding anything to the whipped cream. We don't want to run the risk of it breaking up that structure. Everything goes in here, in this part. This is something that would be a lot easier with a stand mixer. Uh, this is also something that I would probably do with the electric hand mixer if I wasn't planning on using that to whip my cream, and I don't want to use it for both because I don't have enough separate attachments, and I don't want to have to go through, figure out how to thoroughly clean them when I swap between them. So we hand whisk this part, which I think is the easier thing to do by hand. Whipping cream by hand is not that hard. Uh, not like doing eggs. We've done eggs by hand on this show with this hand and this whisk, and it took me 45 minutes to to hand beat eggs into stiff peaks. And let me tell you, we're never doing that again. I'm glad I did it once, but Jesus, that was hard. So I'm looking for is there to be no lumps, and I'm not sure if these are lumps or just artifacts of the little points that appear as the whisk goes through. Taste this stuff too. Mmm, tastes like cheesecake. Oh, before I dive back in, I did just lick my finger. That calls for a hand wash, since I will be serving this to other people, not just myself. If it was myself, I wouldn't care. But this is for a party, so we're sticking to our cleanliness rules here. Hands washed, dive back in. This is also where I want to add my other flavor, which I did not pre-thaw, so I guess we'll have to play this by ear. I bought frozen raspberries. I got fresh raspberries too, but I bought frozen raspberries specifically to get into there. Because for something like that, I think the frozen are superior in terms of usability. They're already a little bit broken down by the freezing. When they thaw, and some of them are actually crushed because they are brittle in there. When they thaw, they should impart this beautiful pink color. Probably should have been pre-thawing them, but I didn't because I'm a fool. I have a plan. So I'm going to fill this inner bowl. Ugh, that's another thing. They put some of the gnarly ones in the freezer bags. Because people don't look at them real close. So we can take advantage of that, crush them up, and you'll never know that the gnarly ones were in there. Actually, I want to crush them up even more so. Oop. As you can see, they're quite brittle, and chunks of them are flying all over the place. I think this would be fun to do with freeze-dried raspberries as well. If you've never had freeze-dried raspberries, they have a lovely, like, crispiness to them. And they maintain that crispiness at room temperature as long as you don't get them wet. They'll start to reabsorb liquids around them if they are introduced. So that might actually not. Now that I say it out loud, that might actually not work for this because they would just rehydrate in the cake mix there. I should have done this at the start. Should have been the first thing I did. Crush up my raspberries. So I don't want to add a bunch of extra water to this. I just want the raspberry juice. So if we get all these guys crushed up in the small bowl, and then put hot water in the larger bowl, the metal of the bowl should do a good job of conducting that heat in to those raspberries and thawing them out without getting them all wet. Since my water is already hot, I guess this is an experiment in rapidly thawing frozen fruit. And they conveniently float, which actually isn't super convenient because I want more immersion. They're not quite heavy enough. If this fails, I'm going to microwave them. But I'd like to thaw them a little bit gentler than the microwave can achieve, if we could. They'll also thaw once I get them in there, so they don't have to be perfectly thawed. I just want them to be not entirely frozen when I introduce them. I'm going to take advantage of our moment of downtime to put away a few things. I've got some dishes from last night that are still on the drying area. And we can get those put away while we have a moment, which will leave us room for the dishes I'm creating right now. And I am sharpening knives, putting these knives away, so I'm going to give them a sharpen. Because then, if I forget when I pull them out, they will have already had a pass. The lighting is so different in here in the morning. You can see the sun shining on my clown. Yeah, you should be. Hi. Oh, farmer's market. I have skipped the farmer's market today because I'm here instead. But hi, welcome in. I've got a moment of downtime where I'm putting some dishes away while these crushed raspberries become a little bit less frozen. So I'm putting away the dishes that were washed last night. And I was just talking about knives because I just sharpened up two of them before putting them away. Find anything good at the farmer's market? I probably would have tried to go to the farmer's market this morning just to see what they had before starting this up. But we had a thunderstorm this morning, like first thing. I didn't really want to go out and brave the thunderstorm. So, gave it a skip. And just kind of putzed around this morning instead. Strawberries, mushrooms, bok choy, green onions, lettuce. Nice. Well, speaking of onions, I just put. So, we have an ongoing saga of my green onion babies. I bought seeds, started the seeds, and they have been doing kind of poorly since then. They've actually been doing better recently. They've several of them that looked quite bad have rebounded. Or perhaps new ones have come up, and the ones that came up early have died or something. I don't know. But they're still quite small, and I'm concerned that they just won't make it in time. But I started saving the root ends of green onions I have been buying from the grocery store and putting them in my front window in a cup of water, and they come up really, really fast, which is good for me. And I just put 2 of them outside in a pot. They're already, I mean, they had already gotten themselves a good several inches tall and about 2 inches of root growth. So I was like, well, I'll just stick them out in the dirt. Uh, Water's not hot enough for what I want to do here, so I'm going to go ahead and. Oh, these need to go in a non-steel bowl. I'm going to put them in the microwave. I'm going to give these things 30 seconds. They're starting to thaw at the bottom. The water's not hot enough, I think, for this trick to work. I think this would have worked if I hadn't been pressed for time about it. If I had thought of it in advance, by the time I got to them, they definitely would have thawed. Probably just from the air, because it's kind of warm still. Although, our heat has broken. So I'm going to give these guys, let's give them 15 seconds in the microwave. Our heat is breaking today because it's a thunderstorm. Although it's very humid. Fingers crossed we get enough rain today to knock the humidity out of the air. Okay, those look pretty well thawed. Let's get them in. Since you weren't here at the start, I'll clue you in as to what I'm doing. I'm making a cheesecake. It's one of my friends' birthday. It was his birthday on Wednesday, but the party is today. And I have decided to present him with a pink cheesecake. And we're doing an attempt at a no-bake today. It should be set by the time we need to eat it this evening as a dessert item. Lovely pink color. Exactly what I was hoping for. Just the right amount of pink. Doesn't quite show up on the camera there. I also have fresh raspberries to decorate it with. Let's set that one aside, since I think that's ready to go, and get on to our most labor-intensive part, the cream. My quarter cup has dried appropriately. Hop back over and reference our recipe. Yeah. So we're going with 1 1/4, so 5 of these, 5 quarter cups of heavy cream. 4 and 5. And this is what's going to give us our light, airy structure. So I've never had a no-bake cheesecake, to my knowledge. My understanding of the differences are that they're made of similar ingredients, but the techniques are so different that they are basically different dishes. And that whereas a traditional cheesecake is rather dense and heavy, and uses egg to attain that silky, smooth texture, and requires a lot of fiddly temperature control. No-bake cheesecake is meant to be light and fluffy. Which I think is a better option for a summer dessert item. Also because it's made cold and served cold, so I don't have to heat up the stove or the oven to pull this off. Now let's see if I can whip cream without making a horrific mess. And yes, we're doing it with the mixer because I don't feel like breaking my arm whisking multiple things today. Even though I could do this one, this isn't like doing eggs. Cream whips together much faster and much more easily than eggs do. Although this is a much larger quantity than I've usually done, so that may be a mitigating factor. I'm speaking up a little bit because I can't quite hear myself over the sound of the mixer, even though I've been told you guys can not hear the mixer super loud. I certainly can. So, and I'm going on low speed for this, at least to start, because I don't want it to spatter quite so much, and also I don't want to overshoot my whip. We're going for stiff peaks, but if you over whip cream, it turns into butter. And we don't want butter for this. There's already butter in the crust. And I would like to take this opportunity to welcome in anyone who's lurking. I do appreciate the views. Ooh, we're already up to an hour. I feel like I'm going to have plenty of time to do something else after this, so I'm going to start thinking about that and taking ideas about what I could attempt for the second stage of this. Because once this is mixed together, I put it in the pan and decorate. Then all it needs to do is rest for several hours. I'll have plenty of time to make myself an actual brunch food on top of this birthday cake. So, any ideas? Anything you want me to make? I haven't had anything today but coffee, so I'm open to pretty much anything. Oops. I always want to do this at an angle, but whenever I do, it starts to throw cream. Okay, I think this is holding enough to bring the speed up a notch. You know what I should do is turn it off. Yeah, we're thickened but runny. I'm gonna need a scraper to bring the sides down. A bit. As we get closer, it's going to start sticking slightly more up the sides. You can see it's already to the point where it's coating the edge of our spatula scraper very, very thoroughly. I'm sorry, Tiny Whisk. You aren't going to be used today unless we make something after the fact that's Tiny Whiskable. You know, it occurs to me. It's not lost on me that I'm starting this is a new time slot for me, and I'm basically making something that I've made before in my other time slot, which is a cheesecake. Soft peaks. Semi-stiff peaks, but we're really close. Stiff Peaks. The other one I made on stream was savory. I kept thinking back because the very first thing I tried to make, the first thing I wanted to make, was a the original cheesecake, and I didn't end up doing it because when I got in here and tried to set up, the people in they were tearing out all that stuff in the back and making a horrible racket. So I was like, well, screw it, I'm not going to fight with them. So you're right. The first one I made on stream here was a savory cheesecake, but the first thing I tried to make was a sweet cheesecake. Ugh. I don't want to. I don't want to lick the beaters, but I want to lick the beaters. You know, way back at the beginning, I had grand plans for all these different cheesecakes. I only ever made the pizza one, and it didn't super work out. And that was like one of my least confident ideas. I've got a much more confident idea that I just haven't done, and that's smoked salmon, because cream cheese and smoked salmon already go together. I'm hoping these little raspberry lumps don't give me any trouble. Okay. We are at the point of doing our combining. This is our uncombined batter on the edge here. I'm just going to lick that off. So this is a fold together because we just put all that air into our whipped cream. And we don't want to lose it. So the whipped cream goes on top of the rest of it. If you put the rest of it on top of the whipped cream, the weight of it would deflate the air. It'd knock the air right out of it. And the way we fold together is we circle around, dig deep, and sort of gently fold, like literally fold the bottom over the top. And we do that around the circle until there's not streaks, and then we stop. The volume of this is quite large, so it's going to take a bunch of folds to get rid of those streaks. But you don't want to mix this vigorously. You want to do these nice, long, slow strokes through it. And I'm also rotating the bowl while I'm doing this. I'll rotate the bowl the other way for a bit. I think we're there. I don't see any more streaks of white amidst my light pink. Having the one or the other of these things colored helps immensely with this step because you can see the streaks of the different things combining. If they were just both white, you'd be hard pressed to tell when one was still in there. Okay. And the final hope is that our crust has sufficiently chilled up that I can just pour this over the top Ooh boy. And you want to gently, and now that I flipped it over, I can see that there are some streaks that were at the very bottom of the bowl that are now at the top. So that's good. You want to push this down so that we don't have little air spaces around the bottom edge. But be gentle. And now that it's in there, it's in there. We can't do anything more with it because the crust is not baked in place. The crust is just set with butter and sugar. And I have no idea what effect that cocoa powder I put in there is going to have on the structure of it as well. So gentle, gentle, gentle with the crust. And I'm going to use my little offset knife here to smooth it out. I would like it to be at the point where the upper edge of the crust is hidden all the way around. Although I may have just slightly too much crust for that. Or slightly not enough filling. Really, really close. So making this a second time, I probably would cut down on the amount of crust just a little bit. I like cheesecake where the crust comes up like to 3/4 rather than all the way. This is an all the way crust. I gotta be careful not to scrape off the tops of that crust because then I'll just get crumbs. Although with the raspberry bits, they're not quite as obvious. So that's helpful as well. There's a tip for you. If you're not confident in making the crust stable, put a mix in the filling that has bits in it, and then no one will notice that there are crumb bits in it. They'll just think it's bits of the bits. Okay. 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 This is looking great. Get the little bit off of there. And a smooth down. It's not perfectly smooth. I don't have a large offset spatula to make this completely smooth with. I don't want to really dig into the sides. So I'm going to call that good enough. Ooh, tastes like cheesecake. Final step before I set this aside to rest for ages. I want to decorate. Ooh, perfect. I've got my decoration hidden behind the edge of the little camera here. We're decorating it with fresh raspberries. which I'm doing not in a perfect circle to start with because I want to get them evenly spaced, and that is easier to do like this. My raspberries are slightly irregularly sized. Some of them are very tall and skinny. And it gives me a chance to pull out some of the debris, because there's little bits of raspberry leaves in here that I don't really want on my cake. This is something you really couldn't do with the baked version of the cheesecake. You'd have to decorate it after the fact, and then they wouldn't be stuck in place. Of course, every slice gets a raspberry. They're not 100% evenly spaced. They're a little bit tight on this side, and there's just a gap there. I should put a small one in that gap. Yeah, everybody wants a raspberry or two. Should put one in the middle. Make a proper portal cake. A mint leaf would be really neat in the middle. I don't have a mint leaf, but a mint leaf would be a really neat center decoration. Hmm. It wants something in the middle. Decoratively, it wants something in the middle, even though the something in the middle will make slicing it awkward later. I've got some of these larger ones. I think I'm going to. Yeah, I've got 3 big ones. Perfect. I have this many berries left. But I was picking through them, and the ones that are left in the container are some of the less pretty ones. I think all the really pretty ones. Yeah, there's not enough of the really nice looking ones to do another circle. That's the issue. Otherwise, I would have done two full circles. Uh, kind of want to put something right in that center point as well. Again, a sprig of mint would be really beautiful right in that middle. Um, oh well. Is this wide enough? Yes. So this needs to now rest for about 1,000 years. Do I have a big enough rubber band for this? I could do this with a rubber band. If I've got one that can go around the top of my spring. So I want this to be a tight. Ooh, that's going to be close. It's got to chill, but the inside of a refrigerator is a place of dryness and desiccation. So it needs something here on the top. Perfect. To hold it together. Okay. This will, of course, not be eaten until this evening. So you won't get to see it until much, much, much later. But there we had it. Photos down the line. That took me an hour 20. We have plenty of time to try something else. Let me take. I've already got a bit of a mess over here. I am open to suggestions and ideas. I don't have time to run out for ingredients, so it's going to be something I already have. But I've got lots of stuff, so we could make anything. So you guys think about that for a sec, while I just get some water in all of these bowls I just created, so they don't all set up into a dry, crusty mess while I'm doing other things. Okay, that's close enough. Turn this light off. For my brunch, I haven't even had breakfast today, but anything, something to eat in this late morning situation. Since we've got the time, we have both the time and the desire for more cooking. Something that does not involve a lot of measuring cups or whisks or beating things, because I don't have enough measuring tools to do another thing with a lot of fiddly measuring. An omelet. How long does it take to make a frittata? Yeah. Okay. Get us back onto the old. Oh, that's my bowl with my rust stain. This is a stainless steel bowl that developed a rust stain. Not from itself, but from a thing that I had sitting in it. But I didn't know. So we're using the other one. Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. I'm getting some ideas. Ideas are happening. Cutting board out. Eggs out. Um, this one calls for a dozen eggs. I don't want to make a dozen egg thing. But I've got lots of ingredients I can chuck into this. Slightly wilty green onions. And they're also really skinny, so I'll just use a bunch of those. Let's see. Ooh. Tail end of some bacon. That's not the spicy cheese. That's the cheese that has chunks of salami in it. Part of a red onion. I have a bell pepper. I'm not looking to become Barge. Some mayonnaise, because everything's better with mayonnaise. Where did my spicy cheese go? Aha. This stuff with the warning, spicy cheese. Okay, okay. We've got some choices here. I've got egg, I've got bacon, I know what I'm gonna make. This will be a fun and tasty. Because I've got a couple of these guys left. Giant tortillas. I'm gonna make breakfast burrito. I'm gonna do oven bacon. Use up this bacon. It's just slightly over the hill, or getting over the hill. The pink part has turned slightly darker pink, which is the sign of early oxidation. So, okay, oven bacon. Uh, Lately, I've been making bacon in the oven uh, because of reasons. This specific time, I'm making bacon in the oven because of having other things to do on the stove at the same time. Oven bacon's real easy. You slap it on a pan, you slap it in the oven. I suggest lining your pan with something so that it makes cleanup super easy. I wasn't planning on using the stove, so I actually didn't go through the trouble of polishing it up. It's not that it's dirty; it's just that it's got a few little spots that I normally buff out just before I start. So we're gonna do that now before I switch the camera over. You can see my tiny bits of spatter. Okay, gonna have to get more of those magic erasers. Uh, okay, the bacon is in the oven. Probably not going to end up using this mayonnaise now that I've decided it's a burrito. That doesn't seem like it goes well. Our spicy element is coming from our cheese, strangely enough. This cheese was, if you missed it the once before when I used it, scorpion cheddar does in fact mean it has Trinidad scorpion peppers in it. Uh, this stuff is hot. We're going to use up my slightly wilty green onions today. So as I mentioned earlier, I've been saving the bottoms of my onions. So I've been giving them about that much. In fact, I've got a measuring thing right here. Give them about 1. And then that part, I'm putting in a cup of water. And they have been resprouting very, very quickly. Much, much easier, faster, and I already have them because I buy green onions just for my own use, compared to starting them from seed. I think starting them from seed is just a waste with green onions, since they're so easy to regrow from just these little nubs. So lesson learned on that, I suppose. What else goes in a breakfast burrito? We've got bacon, we've got egg, onion, cheese. Something starchy? Don't they usually stick a hash brown in there or something? I don't have any hash browns, but I've got some potatoes. I could grate up a potato and make a quick hash brown. Or just do chunky potatoes. I could do chunky stovetop potatoes. Uh, decide what form of potato I'm going to do while I put these in the water in the front. Oh, my cup of water with my onions in it is becoming crowded and harder to get new ones to join the party. I even just put a couple of them out to pasture today. Okay, coming back, heading back, rolling back. Swooping back, zooming back. We're back. Just the skins. Rice, hash brown, boiled potato. You're all wrong. You've guessed incorrectly. Let's get out a small potato. One small potato. Let's get out a bowl to contain my green onions. It was a trick. I've fooled you all. I was never going to listen to you. Rinse that. That pan's probably too big for what I want to do with it now. Downsizing the pan because I'm using a small potato. Probably use this just the little pan. Just washed my hands so they're wet and I cannot grip the lid of my oil. There we go. A little more oil than you think you need for this because I should change the title. Hi, Cut. I should change the title because the cheesecake is now just a memory. It is in the fridge. We did that first, and now I'm making my brunch. So I should change my title. To this. I'm making a breakfast burrito now. Although I would not be opposed to making like a frittata cheesecake with potatoes, sausage in it. That sounds good. That's the thing I've discovered about cheesecake is a cheesecake is a lot like a pizza or a taco. It's a form more than a specific outcome. I would bring the cheesecake out to show it to you, but it looks like a circle of foil because it's got a circle of foil over the top of it so that it doesn't dry out while it's resting in the fridge. Stay tuned to the places where I post photos of my food for photos of that cheesecake later on when it gets served. It's a birthday cheesecake. I was just about to change my title. Welcome to brunch. There. Title changed. So I'm sorry if you came in excited to see how potatoes became part of a cheesecake. We'll do that next time, maybe. There's something I learned the first time I made a cheesecake, a weird cheesecake. Cheesecakes are very large and take a long time to eat. I was nibbling on that pizza cheesecake for a very long time. It's not my birthday; it's a friend's birthday, and I'm bringing along a raspberry cheesecake. My birthday's in the winter. Um, I actually made my birthday was on a Tuesday this year, and I cooked and I made. What did I make? I made surf and turf. No, I made surf and surf. I made a delicious steak, but it was a fish steak. We need scrambled egg. So no, it's a friend of mine. We're having a birthday party this evening or this afternoon. And I thought this was a perfect opportunity. Yes, it was swordfish and lobster, swordfish and the big shrimp, maybe swordfish and some kind of shellfish. Uh, that was tasty, by the way. But yeah, I wanted to make a delightful treat for the birthday, and decided that this would be a good opportunity to also do a show at a new time slot first thing in the morning. Although not quite first thing in the morning. I was up for a couple hours before I jumped on here. I didn't intend to be up for a couple hours, but I've been waking up pretty much at dawn for days now, which has just been a treat. You can make potato cheesecake. Nothing stopping you. Nothing stopping me. Maybe things are stopping you. Nothing's stopping me from making potato cheesecake. We're going to use a little bit of this cream. I've got it on hand to zhuzh up my scrambled egg here. It'll make it extra fluff. We're not in a big rush because those potatoes are going to take a hot minute to cook. I diced them pretty small, but just doing them dry on a stove top like that inevitably takes a little bit of time. And of course, the bacon needs to cook. Could put that in there. Uh, I need. I've got a list, and actually, I keep saying I've got a list. I've got a metaphorical list in my head of crazy cooking ideas, and I should literally write them down so I stop forgetting them because I forget them all the time. But I need to like do more of those because whenever I do them, I A have fun and B people show up to see what the heck I'm doing. And those are two things. Those are two good things. I'm salting the potatoes. Let's see. I'm on the other side of the thing. We're in a dynamic cooking mode, and I'm very confident in this dynamic cooking mode because this is the kind of stuff I always do. So I can chat, and as long as I remember to switch around the camera, I can easily chat and cook at the same time. That's something I've bumped into a few times is cooking something complicated or trying to multitask, and then I can't also multitask managing the stream part. I should get a trash bowl for those eggshells and scraps. Make sure I'm not cutting up a. Literally the last time I cut a pepper, I left the sticker on, cut the sticker, threw it in the pan with the sticker, and the sticker melted. That wasn't great. That was dumb. Uh, I used the back burner because I intended to use the front burner for eggs, but it occurs to me that I'm not probably not going to be cooking these things at the same time. So it was just foolish. Could have used the front burner for everything. I can smell the bacon. The bacon's starting to come up. That's good. That's good. Like, if I wasn't making the cheesecake today for specifically presenting to somebody who has frowned upon my crazier ideas, yeah, Snickers for breakfast. One of my ideas. It's another cheesecake idea, which after my first one took so long to eat, I'm leery of diving in and doing a bunch of cheesecakes. But early on in my quest to discover if savory cheesecakes are a viable idea, I maintain that they are. Um, I had a desire to combine savory because you see cream like the main ingredient of cheesecake is cream cheese. Uh, Everything else is kind of structural elements. So the main flavoring is cream cheese. There's savory cream cheese dishes all over the place. Um, so that's where I started looking. The one I ended up making was pizza because in my quest I discovered that ricotta also works in a cheesecake, and you can just build on the ricotta flavor. So we made pizza. Um, I learned a lot from that too. Let's see. We need some oil in this pan because we're going to do an egg here. But not a ton of oil. This is a good nonstick pan that I've abused. It's got spots and scratches all over it. Um, yep, and that's the one. You've got it. Salmon cheesecake. Um, but while I want to make it, the trouble is if nobody but me eats it, it's going to be a big waste. So I need to do like a save it for an event. That's going to be the difficulty. Uh, I'm ready for it. I just have to make an event out of it because I've got frozen smoked salmon ready to go for it. Like we're literally ready for it. Turn the back burner off. Okay. So I guess stay tuned. What's too hard to make? Smoked salmon cheesecake? No. No. I made a pizza cheesecake. One of my early adventures. Nothing's too hard to make. And if I can make it, in this shitty little kitchen, then anyone can make it. No, 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 no. See, people didn't like the pizza cheesecake because it had a weird texture, which came from the ricotta. The smoked salmon cheesecake is going to have a normal texture because it's going to be made with cream cheese. If we want to talk about torture ideas, I've got some of those too. Those will be much harder to pitch. My bacon is slightly overdone. Not terribly overdone, but slightly overdone. Oh, I should have used the bacon fat for the eggs. Ugh. Ugh. But no, 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 no. I've got ideas that I think are going to be good. I'm not making things, I'm not deliberately making gross food. I'm making gross concepts into good food. There's a difference. Let's add some of our bacon drippings to that pan. Make good use of them. What I want to do is tell you what I'm making, and you go, "Ew, that sounds awful," and then you taste it, and it ends up being great. That's that's the goal. That's the dream. We're not doing that today. That's not none of these things today. I think sound gross at all. These are making a breakfast burrito and a raspberry cheesecake. Those both sound amazing. Um, Here, I've got a great example. Uh, what do you mean get the strong salmon flavor out of the cheesecake? I want the strong salmon flavor into the cheesecake. We're not hiding. We're not shying away. We're embracing. But I have an example. I have another example besides a cheesecake, a non cheesecake example. I'm just gonna put these eggs right back in the bowl where they came from, so they don't overcook while I'm giving my example. Uh, I have an example. Back in Easter, someone posted a meme of liver and onions flavored peeps, which sounds disgusting. Liver and onion flavored marshmallow objectively sounds disgusting. I want to make those, but I want to make them good. It's on the list. That is on the list. Because I think you can accomplish something that sounds gross but works. Salmon is a pretty strong flavor. Yeah, I'll admit that. The other flavors in the cheesecake are going to have to be equally strong to work with the salmon. We're not hiding from the salmon though. Oop, that burner's still on. That shouldn't be. So, red onion, capers, dill, These are some good strong flavors. The tricky bit, and this is the tricky bit I learned from the pizza cheesecake, is the crust, because a cheesecake crust, like the sugar in a cheesecake, is not a structural component. You do not need to put sugar in the cheesecake to make it hold together. In fact, I think might hold together better without the sugar, because you can build a stronger egg and not worry about it like burning as much. But the crust needed some sugar in it to make it become a crust. So that's the trick. That's the where I'm not sure how to make it work. I don't know why I put this pan in the stove in the sink, because I'm going to use it right away, but it's back now. And also, I like the flavor of salmon, so I'm not going to make any attempt to hide from it. I know some people. I know some people in the chat right now will disagree with the notion of liking the flavor of salmon. Um, who could that be? Who indeed could that be? Bacon. Bacon. Mmm, bacon. I feel like my camera has, yeah, drifted. Um, bacon, bacon, bacon. Now I'm gonna leave whole pieces of bacon. Big pile of scrambled egg. Thing about breakfast burritos is they're meant to be just loaded up. Fast food breakfast burritos are typically dangerously underfilled. You want this guy to be bursting at the seams. I think the bacon is actually slightly overdone. You want it to be just a little bit soft so that when you roll, it doesn't poke holes in the sides of the burrito. So we'll see if that happens. And this cheese kind of scares me. It's very spicy. So I'm hoping that the quantity of the rest of the stuff saves me from the cheese, but I'm not being shy. Get in there, cheese. Worst comes to worst, I've got some sour cream. I can like douse it in sour cream as I eat it. The pan pan needs to be ready for this guy before I do the fold. Big fat burrito like this can't just be folded and eaten. You gotta griddle it. I don't have a griddle, so I'm just using the same pan I cooked everything in. Do it this way. You take your sides. This is the burrito fold. Take your sides, you bring them in yonder. You fold, you tuck. I'm not nearly as good at this as somebody who's been practiced, but bam, burrito. And then you pick it up and you pop it in your pan and you press it down. We're going to need a cross section of this guy. He's got to get toasty, and then we flip him. Toasting the seam side is very important. It makes the tortilla stiffen up and stick together. We did have a little bit of a break on this end, so I'm going to have to eat it from this end when I eat it. But you want to get that bottom side toasty, and since I don't have an actual griddle, I'm going to flip it and do the other side. This will also help get the cheese in there a little bit meltier. This is a great idea. Whoever suggested breakfast burrito, good shout. I am concerned that I'm going to need some sour cream to make the spicy cheese not quite. I know it was me. That was the joke. That was the joke. Congratulations, me. Good shout. Good idea. Great. One burrito tortilla left. These burrito tortillas were a great find. As you can see on the sticker, 50 cents for a package of giant burrito tortillas. And the reason was the safety seal was partly zipped open, but the package was still sealed. It was just that the little safety zipper was broken. Nope, that's not. Gotta be careful. Gotta be careful. I don't want this boy to burst open. Actually, kind of want it just to be hot. Last time I made a burrito, you may have seen the picture of it. My fish burrito. I literally chucked it in the oven after I folded up because the oven was still hot. Actually, what am I saying? The oven is still hot this time. I could have just thrown it in the oven on that bacon pan. That would have been probably a better idea. Well, it's a little late now. I think I'm going to need a tong. Flip this guy once it's hot. Yeah. This is why Taco Bell has that griddle press. It actually browned the side, so it didn't brown very much on top at all. But the seam side that was on the pan in the oven, because the pan also was still hot because I used fish sticks and I did them in the oven. The seam side on the hot pan in the hot oven, even though I had turned the oven off, browned up and sealed together really nicely. The top side didn't brown at all, but the side that was actually touching the metal did. But this is why, like, if I had like a George Foreman, perfect for this. Uh, this is why Taco Bell has those griddle press things. It's just two hot sheets of steel or hot sheets of iron. It browns off your burrito in, oh, perfect, perfect. We have a little bit of a rupture on the side there, but the middle part's perfect. And the other side doesn't really need a lot of browning. I'm just doing it so that it's evenly warmed. Probably turn it off and just do it on residual at this point. So as you can see, my fold kind of let go a little bit over here on this corner. So we're going to eat it from that end. But yeah, that's just about ready, and that's just about the proper length. That was a good, quick. God, this is the best kind of combination of things where I make one big project that I'm not eating today, and then a little project that I am, because the little projects are so much fun, but they only take 30 minutes. The little projects are the things that I should be like doing recordings of and then throwing out into the YouTubes, as the kids say, the YouTubes. Let's get a plate ready. I won't do you guys a disservice today of having to take this and take photos. I'm just going to take a big bite, and then I'll go take photos after I've taken a bite. It'll be fine. Perfect. Perfect. Look at the boy. Look at that lad. Glorious. Good thing I sharpened up this knife earlier, because this is exactly the job it was made for. Ooh, ooh. Now there's a breakfast burrito. Put one side on a plate. I think like a salsa would be really good with this. I don't have any salsa right now, and I actually don't have any tomatoes either. But something like that would, I think, be a good complement to this. Let's take a big old bite and tell you about it. If I start screaming in pain, you'll know the cheese is very, very hot. Mmm. Mmm. Ooh. Ooh. Okay. The cheese is definitely spicy, but there's enough going on in here between the potato and the egg and the tortilla that it's not overwhelming. No. See, the sour cream was going to be in case I needed it. This is a spicy one. This is definitely a spicy breakfast. If you're sensitive to spice, don't. I mean, if you're sensitive to spice, don't get the scorpion cheese. This is the fault of that scorpion cheese. But good combination. It was easy to put together. Took me amid the chit chat. It took me not quite 35 minutes to put this together from complete scratch, from conceiving the idea. And the bulk of that time was the bacon had to be in the oven and the potatoes had to soften. Everything else was quick, 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 quick. I just used what I had on hand. I've also got asparagus. You could put asparagus in this. That would have softened up just in plenty of time. Dad, who invented the burrito? They're a genius. Anyways, I think we're gonna wrap up because now we're getting on towards dinner time, or not dinner time, lunchtime. And I've got a lunch right here. It's hot. It's ready to go. I need to take some photos of it. And there will be, of course, photos of the cheesecake down the line as well. God, this was fun. This was a load of fun. I need to come up with more project ideas like this, where I've got one big central project and then a quick idea as well. I think that's when I have the most fun. So yeah, thanks for coming out. This was our first ever brunch. I didn't have a set start time. I started a little bit after 9 my time, which was just about 2.25 hours ago. And that felt pretty good. I could start a little bit earlier, start a little bit later. I'm not sure. But yeah, so thanks for showing up. I have no idea who's live on a Saturday morning, so let's check out what's going on. Oh, okay, okay. There's a couple of channels live. I'm also, before I pick one, this because we had really good luck once before, so now I consistently ask if anybody has a raid suggestion. Because so far my one suggestion was a resounding success, and I watch them frequently now. So if anybody's got a somewhere that I think that we would be a good place to drop us off, let me know. Otherwise, we are going to wrap up and raid. I'd appreciate it if you stuck around for the raid, even if you have to duck out right afterwards. It makes the numbers happier when people come along. Okay, well, barring suggestions, say because nobody jumped in, I am going to bring us over to Apple all. All right, that's a suggestion. Let's go. Apple all is playing Monster Hunter. See, I was thinking that we would go jump in on Chubsley because Chubsley is playing Phasmophobia for the first time. I'll put a pin in Apple all. We'll try again. But I am going to take us to Chubsley. I don't have a raid message. I've never had a raid message. I tried doing that one time, and it was just me when I got there. So, anyways, if you're not familiar with Phasmophobia, it's a spooky ghost game about spooky ghosts in like a ghost hunter reality TV show, but the ghosts are real, and it's a game. And I know Chubley's playing it for the first time, as I believe, because Twiggy was talking about that when I rated her earlier in the week. And she's also playing Phasmophobia, so I think she's walking him through his first scary, or perhaps tormenting him with his first scary go at Chubsley, or at Phasmophobia. So, thanks for coming out. This was a lot of fun. I think Saturday morning is a good time. I just need to learn. I just need to make some more Saturday morning friends so I have places to send people when I'm done. We'll see you next week.